hit like, and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Good morning, Ed Cairo. Welcome back, family, or welcome if you're new to Ascending. I am your very happy, blessed host, aprilRsilver. For those who are watching or listening, we want to say that we appreciate you checking in. Y'all know it's going to be an amazing show. Y'all know we have a very, very special guest. Actually, the reason why you see me at all on the Marc Lamont Hill channel, YouTube channel. So we want to do the regular. If you're watching on Twitter, thank you. But the biggest thanks is if you switch from Twitter over to the YouTube channel, Marc Lamont Hill Official. That is the very specific, simple way that you can help support independent Black media. So definitely make that switch. We'll be reminding you for those who come in later. So I definitely want to get us started here. This is our 21st episode. So we want to definitely thank everybody who's been rocking with us since the beginning of the year. I want to shout out my A-team, definitely, for sure. I want to shout out the Marc Lamont official team who helped guide us every step of the way. I definitely want to also just tell us from where you are ascending. We want to see in the comments. And so, for real, those people who were here like at 10:30 or before we even started, thank you to those who showed up. So let us know from where you are ascending, where you watching us from. Put your city in the chat, and we'll definitely shout you out at the end. But let's jump in straight to what are we doing first? Bookmark. So let's do our regular bookmark. And of course, given who our special guest is, Marc Lamont Hill, who's coming in shortly, let's do our bookmark, which is on just one of his 8 books. New York Times bestseller, Nobody, came out in 2017. Definitely, many people watching this may already have that, of course, because you know of this great man and his scholarship or whatever. For those who don't know, this is one of his amazing writings and contributions to the culture and for our intelligence. So we definitely want to shout out Marc's book, Nobody, Casualties of America's War on the Vulnerable from Ferguson to Flint and Beyond, came out in 2017, New York Times bestseller. You know, the first book, I think the first book that I read from Marc was Classroom in the Cell with Mumia. And let me just say, shout out to the podcast on this channel that Marc has with our dear brother, Mumia Abu Jamal. I think that's the first book that I read. And I think it's the first project that I worked on Marc with. But definitely for today, I wanted to definitely shout out that particular book. And so by extension, because if you know Marc even just a little bit, this is an ode to him. He's Philly through and through. So our Black media shout out is the Philadelphia Tribune. So if you're new, you might not know, but we do this every week. We just tap into a bookmark and we tap into a Black media space. So that's one of my delights. So I want to shout out the Philadelphia Tribune, the oldest daily, continuously published African-American newspaper. 1849, I think, is when it was established, if my facts are right. I think 1849. So that's a long time. So definitely go back to our previous episodes, right? And watch the previous episodes, because we're always educating. We're always breaking ground. We don't take for granted that just because you're here, that you know all the things, that you're all the way into the culture. We are here to uplift and to break ground. So every week, look for the bookmark, look for the Black media shout out that we do on a regular basis. So let me just see where we are waiting for our guests to come on board. My producers are so dope, because we might have to do some penance in the beginning, I think, while we wait for our special guests. Drake, should we do penance now or should we wait till later while we wait for our...
Sure, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's going on out there.
Okay, thank you. So everybody, that's Drake Almighty. One of my dearest friends, my brother, really and truly. If you were with us a couple of episodes ago, you saw that we did a shout out to Black theater, right? And so that special guest was Sangu Jakam. And if you are in the New York region, not just necessarily in New York, but if you're in the New York region, get yourself to Off Broadway so you can see a freaky introduction. When Sangu came on board, he talked about Black theater as a whole and the history and how it's a tool, how it has been used for as a tool for liberation. But since then, the show has mounted. It's called A Freaky Introduction. It's a one-man show, and he has a woman DJ, but it's just the two of them. I haven't seen it yet. I'm about to see it in a couple of days, but the reviews are crazy. So I definitely want to shout that out because the show is closing on and scheduled to close on June 22nd. So the reviews are great. That's my brother. That's my Howard brother. Shout out to Howard University. That's my Ifa brother. So I definitely want to let people know to go check that out. Guys, if we can put that website, Atlantic Theater something.com.org. The guys will put it, my producers will put it in the chat. But we definitely want to remind people about that. Go check out that episode. It's amazing. It's wonderful. It's the shout out that we did to Black theater. So thank you, Sangu. If you're watching, I'm always definitely going to look out. Again, let us know from where you are ascending. If you're watching on Twitter, oh, wow. Hello, Georgina Steve from London, England. Let us know if this is your first time, but you're welcome here, definitely. Shout out to everybody who's watching on Twitter, but we will love you more if you switch over to YouTube. It really, really does make a difference. If you want to support independent Black media, then that is a very simple thing you can do. Karen Jones, thank you for watching from Atlanta, Georgia. I am at my Georgia home, so we're in the same state this morning. Y'all know between Georgia and New York, that's where I be. Is Rolando here? I know Rolando is here. Yes, he is. He's working. There you go. What's up, Rolando? These are our regulars. I see Timothy Jones in the chat. A couple other people from Nigeria. Yo, for real, yo. I got family galore in Nigeria. Suleiman, tell us what part, please. I'd like to know. I've been to Nigeria 4 times in the past 10 years. So shout out to my family in Oshogbo. That's where my family is from. So shout out to all of my family in Oshogbo in Osun State. So all of the Nigerian family, Cabo Verde, did I say that right? I'm sure I messed that up, but welcome, welcome. So family, we are waiting for our guests to come on board, but we're gonna have some conversation. I see Timothy Jones again. Yes, the favorite chat that Timothy Jones, who was my other brother, is the episode with Mother Sonia. Let's continue to keep her in our prayers. We didn't, I'm glad this came up. We're pausing the haiku poetry workshop that she offered to do. This was in January or February. Go back to the episode in January or February where we had the most amazing time with our great mother, Sonia Sanchez, the living legend, the poet, the humanitarian, the great mother to us all. We are pausing that haiku poetry workshop. And I forgot to announce that we're pausing right now. We just got to make sure that some things on the home front for our great mother are fine. So just know that as soon as we get the green light, our family, that we can go ahead and have that small group that we talked about, we will definitely go ahead and do that. So I just wanted to give that update. So Timothy Jones, thank you, who's on the team for that haiku poetry workshop that we'll be doing, but there is a bit of a pause. So I just wanted to let you know. So we got people from Boston, NYC, Seattle, y'all are over today. And Sandy, who is always here, is from the DMV area. That's my heart right there, Sandy. Yo, speaking of Sandy, y'all see her in the chat. We brought her on earlier this year, and Sandy is a social justice worker. She's a advocate for children and families. And that episode on adoption, when I tell you people are still talking about that particular episode because Sandy put us on this concept of adoption abolitionists. Who knew? And my brother talked about this last week on the Black Fatherhood episode. That's another banger for real. But so it's public information that my oldest nephew is an adopted nephew. So hold on, family, 1 second. Okay, so I asked my brother to watch that episode, and it blew him away. He's still talking about it, and so many other families. So I want you all, this is why I'm so happy to be here, because Ascending is that live stream. Mark is very clear. It's not a podcast, you know, but it's a live stream. We're here every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And we want you to definitely check out those previous episodes. So Sandy, thank you. We're going to have you back to talk about that. That was too groundbreaking and too revealing, Sandy. So we want to definitely have you back. And also I see Universes is somebody's favorite. Yo, those are my people right there. That was in the month of April. Universes was on board. That was, for some of you who know, April every year is National Poetry Month. And so Universes, my family from the 90s, that was like a really, really great, energetic episode. One of my favorite episodes to do was with L. Joy Williams, right? People know me as serious and the activist and the businesswoman and all this other kind of stuff. But the way L. Joy Williams and I were kikiing and just having a blast while we were talking about the importance of being civically engaged, like that's super important. But we had fun. So that was one of my favorite episodes to do, where I just let loose. So definitely go into the playlist. Guys, if we can put the playlist in the chat, maybe so people can know how to access. If you haven't already done it, I'm just scanning the chats the chat right now. But that was a good one. The episode with our great mother, Sonia Sanchez. Of course, update for those who don't know, one of my favorite episodes was with the mayor of Newark, Ras J. Baraka. Thank you to everybody who supported Mayor Baraka's run for governor, right? If you follow me on social media, you'll know that that was a big thing. We had a virtual event with our brother, Mayor Ras Baraka, again, mayor for the city of Newark, New Jersey, Newark being the largest city in the state of New Jersey, and he ran for governor. The election was just a couple of days ago. He came in second. So there's a video on his IG, Mayor Ras J. Baraka on Instagram. I think that's his handle for everything. But he talked about how the community did a hell of a job. I am happy for him. I'm happy for Team Baraka. I'm happy for the courageous leader that he is. One day I'll show you all some pictures. I've known him all of my adult life. He and I both went to Howard University together. We raised hell at Howard University back in the, where were we? The late 80s, 90s. The Black Neoforce, shout out to my Black Neoforce family. Shout out to the Howard University student association family. I was president and Raz was vice president when we were in school. So this is a long history. And just shout out to the Baraka family and the people of Newark and the people of Jersey, the ones who got sense and know that he should have, he's who we wanted. We would have done ourselves a favor. But what my point is to say that he made it very clear that this is not the end. Just because he did not get that position that he was running for as governor of the state of New Jersey, ain't nothing over. We still have a fight to carry on. And I salute him for his courageous stance against tyranny, against fascism, and all of the good things that he stands for. So I just wanted to definitely shout him out. I hope that some of you are watching because you're en route to a protest or rally for No King's Day. This is a cursed day. In some ways, this is the birthday of the president, and I fully support in concept and in action, the peaceful protest for No King's Day. So I definitely wanted to let that be known to people. If you're watching and you're just tuning in, I am your happy host, aprilRsilver. If you're watching or listening, our brother Marc Lamont Hill will be joining us today, and we get a chance to talk about a number of things, all of the viral moments. We're going to have the full range. If you know Marc at all, or even just a little bit, he covers the full spectrum from the scholarship, pop culture. So we're definitely going to talk about all of that. I heard from him this morning, so he'll be tuning in just a minute. But in the meantime, we want people to, again, if you are watching on Twitter, switch over to Marc Lamont Hill Official on YouTube. That is a very simple way to support independent Black media. I have seen the numbers grow over the 6 months that we've been doing this. So it's an important Black space, and we need your support. We need your eyeballs, your clicks. We need you to comment, be it in a live chat or, any of the episodes. It's a wealth of information that Marc has made available. So definitely want to shout him out. He'll be with us shortly. What are some of the other episodes? Let me see. We did the first episode, the very first one, January 18th. I had just gotten back from Nigeria, actually, was a tribute to Black education. We did 2 shows on Black education, right? The first one was a look at Black student activists on a college campus, and we were narrowly specific about Howard University because I am a plaintiff in a lawsuit against my beloved alma mater, Howard University in Washington, D.C. That's a very first episode. And shout out to Donald Temple, shout out to the students, the faculty, the family, the universe of Howard University, the ones who are on the right side of history with regard to holding the university accountable. Shout out to HAU, the alumni organization. Shout out to all HBCU lovers. Like, y'all know I ride hard for my alma mater. I graduated 1,000 years ago, but bigger than that, I'm down with the concept and the living of HBCUs. So I'm excited to say we will have the president of Virginia State University. It's coming in July. Just confirmed that just the other day. Dr. Makola Abdullah, who is, I think, the 14th president of Virginia State University, my other favorite second HBCU. Outside of Howard. So he's coming on board. We're doing another piece on education with Dr. Cherie Warren. Those are both in July. So that's coming up. Yo, Rolando, I see you. The episode on hazing was one of your favorites. That is it was my way of contributing to the anti-hazing movement, right? That happens. And we had my friend, my client, a really all around good human being, Byron Hurt, was on board. Yeah, I've been rocking with Byron since like a long time. And I say that because I'm proud of the history, not to just like, drop whatever, but I'm just really proud of the relationships that I have and the people who we stand behind. So that's why you see me, being goofy about these wonderful people who I know and love. But yeah, that episode was really, really critical. And I would ask people to follow Byron Hurt as well on social media. Now, the thing that's important, and I think it's okay to say this, but we are gearing up for another series, right? With Byron Hurt, I'm sorry. So I'll just leave it there, but just follow him and me on social media. The anti-hazing work that Byron does as a social justice filmmaker is critical. It is, it's hard to embrace, right? And I want to see if any of our people here are part of the D9 community. I'm very, very happy about those members of the D9 community who have stood behind Byron and taken a really, really hard stance to be like, yeah, I love being a member of the D9 community. Yo, Sandy, can you tell us what that is in the chat? But we don't have to haze people to come on board. Sandy, I know I'm always putting you to work, right? Sorry, Sandy. But Byron, who is a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, did a film that was on PBS, came out just a couple of years ago. And we talked about that, but we talked about his other work as well. Check out Hip Hop Beyond Beats and Rhymes. It's Black Music Month. So check that out as well. You can find that. These are all the films, just some of the films he's done on PBS. So yeah, Rolando, thank you for sharing that for sure. That was one of my favorites as well. Dr. Bean, Dr. Danette Bean is coming back. We did a piece on Black women's health and women's health, and that was an amazing, enlightening conversation as well. We have she's coming back on July 26th because July is National Fibroids Awareness Month. And when I tell you that this woman has a holistic approach to what it means to heal our bodies, particularly Black women, when she has a view of healing and health and wellness that is necessarily responsive to the trauma that we go to living in a racist, classist society, she is that woman. So she's coming back. We got the date, July 26th, because this thing about fibroids in Black women and Black women's health is a thing. So mark your calendars. We have her confirmed as well. Yo, I just talked to somebody via text. I can't say who it is. But I'm excited about the lineup that we have. So Drake, let's give me an ETA on Mark as well from the chat. But the 20 episodes that we have done have been empowering. They have been uplifting, and despite the labor-intensive work of going live every Saturday morning, I love it, and I'm grateful. So let me see what else we got in here. Oh, no, Sandy, thank you. D9 is short for Divine Nine, is the collective of 9 historically Black fraternities and sororities on college campuses. So shout out your status. I am not a member of the community. Oh, wait. Yo, yes, Brock Diamond. Thank you for the contribution. I just learned about this like seconds before. Brock Diamond tells us that 2 state senators were shot in Minnesota. One is dead. Yes, our country is crashing out. Oh, wow. I heard it like seconds before we went live on this show. As people get more information, please put that in the chat, with news sources. We thank you so much, Brock, for sharing that information and for your financial contribution. It's deeply appreciated. And I'm so sorry, I can't even fix my words to say how tragic, and I don't even know what the circumstances are, but the fact that we've lost someone, elected officials, that's something to pause for. So thank you for sharing that information.
Apparently, the shootings were targeted. 2 different lawmakers and their spouses were targeted in the overnight hours.
Wow. Thank you, Drake, for sharing that. And again, if we have any news sources that people can, you might already have put it in the chat. I don't know, but may they rest in peace. Brock, I would have to agree with you. The country is crashing out, but it's when has it not, right? But this is some extra level shit. The fuckery that's going on, language alert. This is not the space if you are hypersensitive around words such as that, but there's no other way to explain the fuckery that's going on except calling it fuckery at the very least. So again, shout out to those who are participating and stand with in principle. No King's Day, because we do have to stand up and take a stance. On my social media as well, and I think this is apropos, when we had Mayor Raz Baraka on this show, that episode is in the playlist as well. Go to the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. I did a conversation with Baraka right before the last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago, whatever. He talked about this moral moment, right? In his encouragement of people to take a stance. I'm nowhere near as eloquent as our brother, but check out the videos on his social media, all of his social media, my social media, he talked about the responsibility that we have to rise to the occasion for this moral moment, meaning we can't be the ones on our watch to let democracy crumble even more than it already has. Thank you, producers, for this. Minnesota state lawmaker killed in politically motivated assassination. Massive manhunt for the suspect is underway. This is so fucked up. This is fucked up. Minnesota State Representative Melissa and her husband. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that screenshot. Speaking of crashing out, I wanted to talk about us taking a stance for this moral moment, and because that's me echoing so many of our wise people amongst us about showing up. But we can't act like it's not hard. We can't act like people aren't scared. We can't act like people are like, yeah, the fuck you say, like I'm checking out. I can't. There are people who are probably checking out in a lot of ways than ever before since the November election. And some people are checking in. One of the things that I would encourage people to go back and watch the episode with Chief Ayanda Clark, because we talked about crashing out and how does one stay sane, in this environment when every time you turn around, you ain't even got to turn around all the way. There's some dismantling. We have this morning, the killing of two people, and they were targeted. That how do you swallow that? How do you absorb that? How do you read it and hear it and not be affected? I don't think there's a way that if you got any humanity whatsoever that you're not going to be affected. That every time you try to go grocery shopping, you just turn around and go back home because the prices are so high. Like, it's just on so many levels, right? And it's coming at a rapid pace. This we have been dealing with this in a concentrated way in 5 months, just in 5 months. So this idea that people don't know how to handle this, our mental and emotional health is definitely being impacted negatively. There's no one answer with how to deal with this, right? There's no one answer. There's one size fits all in how to remain balanced and sane and showing up for family and being responsible, because it's too much, and much of that is by design. I know for me, one of the ways that I try to be as balanced as possible, this is for me, this is not anybody else's prescription. I really do conjure up, sit still and think about the benevolent freedom fighting ancestors that have gone through similar or worse scenarios. When I wake up in the morning, for me, I give thanks that I have another opportunity to contribute to fighting. There's I shared this, I don't remember where I saw this, right? But somebody was in conversation with a friend who was like, I am never going to have children. I am never bringing a child into this world. For what? This world is wicked, it's chaotic, it's oppressive. And who wants to live like that? My responsibility as an adult, this person was saying, is to not bring life into this madness. And the person who they were talking to was like, oh, there's another way to look at it. Maybe we need more children and children of a certain mindset so that they can be the warriors that we need, as opposed to thinking that it is not good to bring children or to nurture the ones that are here or to show up. Maybe that's not the shield, right, that we think it is. But maybe if we believe in our history and being on the right side of history, and if we find strength in our lineage as freedom fighters, then maybe consider, please, that the responsibility is to birth warriors against those who oppose love, those who oppose justice, those who don't give a damn, those who don't have humanity as their core, maybe we're supposed to be contributing in all the ways that we can to fight this. And so, this moral moment, as our brother has said, is if we say we love our ancestors, then we got to figure out a way that is sustainable for us as individuals and collectively as we organize to put up a front against this fuckery. So let me pause and go back to some of the comments. Let me look at the start of the comments. We have from the AP, from the Associated Press. Former State House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband were killed in a politically motivated assassination. A second lawmaker and his wife were shot and wounded. So, yeah, thank you, Rolando, for sharing that information again. It's too much. It's by design. They're intentionally fomenting BS to overwhelm us into submission. That's a bar. That's a real thing, and I know we're going to talk about that once our guest gets here. We're going to talk about that. I do believe that is an offshoot, right? I do believe that that's an offshoot. There's another train of thought that says Trump and the MAGA idiots and all of those people who think like them, they are excellent at their job. They are excellent at what they believe in. I believe that there's some people are born and have a function of creating chaos and death and destruction. And they are excellent at it. But then we, on the other side, have to be more excellent and more diligent, and we have to study. I'm really a big proponent of us not being, as much as we can help it, and sometimes it takes training, to not be emotional without being rational. I'm really big on us getting to know our history in full context. I am personally big on having relationships that reflect, and this is one of the things that we'll talk about. When we say we believe a thing, then that's not just for commentary in the public setting. It's what we do in private is important as well. You all know, and I will be asking about the recent reason that our brother Marc Lamont Hill went viral is because the video of him being pepper sprayed, and he put on social media, "Family, I'm fine." Guys, if we can get a screenshot of that would be dope. Sorry, I didn't say that before. But that video of a woman pepper spraying Marc at a public speaking engagement was from January 2024. So about a year and a half ago. I guess somehow it resurfaced and people thought it was current. And our brother went on social media to say that he is alive and well. But why that's important? We're just talking about, dude.
Am I live?
Yes, you are.
Oh, I did not mean to be yet, but that's fine. That's perfect. I apologize. I had when I told you I'd be on time. I was in the doctor's office. I woke up. I have a very bad back issue, but I also have maybe my first migraine.
Oh,
and I was in the doctor's office, and they found something in my spine that they needed to do X-rays on, and I had to be back home by 11 to grab the baby. And I rushed out of the doctor's office and realized I forgot my phone. So I had to just grab the baby and come back to grab the phone. And in the midst of all that, life got a little hectic. I really apologize, but I didn't want to. Okay, Papa, dame un momento, okay? Estoy hablando con mi amiga, okay? And
but Marc, can I
yeah,
say this? Can I say this?
yeah.
Your health is more important to me.
I know,
Dude,
but I'm okay. I'm okay. No, I gotta say so. I'm okay. I'm not. I'm okay. I took some pain medicine. And everything is okay. I can talk. I just the headache is there, but I'm fine. But I want to talk to you, and I want to make sure that we have some conversation.
Well, this is gonna be short, family. You know what I mean? Because you know I love you. You know we love you, and I'm one of the ones who's always like, Mark, take care of yourself. And every time in the chat, there's a whole chorus of us. It's like, dude, go to sleep. You know what I mean? So this will be short because
Yeah,
I want.
I don't have that luxury of going to sleep, but I definitely would love to sit in the dark a little bit. This is the most pain I've ever had in my life in my head. But I'm gonna be all right. I just there's a lot going on. And the doctor gave me some. They do some homeopathics. They gave me inflammies, some bos bosilia, ginger, white willow bark, curcumin. I'm about to. I took 600 milligrams of ibuprofen. Not that I don't believe in all that. I'm gonna take this too. But
Right,
this
right,
kind of
right.
pain right here got me.
But
It woke me up. It
are
woke me
you
up at like 4 a.m.
but are you stationary at least, fam? Are you
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
stationary?
yeah, yeah. I'm literally
Okay.
just ran back into the doctor's office to grab the phone that I forgot, and I'm sitting in front of there.
Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm okay. I'm okay. I- I'm okay. And brother Malcolm
I know I was about to say baby Malcolm, send our love. Send our love. But I'm this, Mark. I'm gonna say this, but I'm hard headed. I'm hard headed, and I know you love us. I know you love me. I know you want to keep your word, and that's honorable. But it's still gonna be short. But I just
all right.
got one thing to say that if I don't say two things that I wanted to definitely get off my chest because we're not, you and I are not as aligned as I thought that we were. And I kind of mean to catch you off guard if you don't mind. But the
Yeah,
one
good.
thing I gotta ask you, like, what the hell is wrong with you that you don't like Three Musketeers? That's the one thing that I saw it on your IG and you
Yeah.
crossed Three Musketeers. What the hell?
So I'll say this. And you're a wonderful human being, and everyone is flawed. So I'm not. We all have our things. So we all, your Three Musketeer appreciation. It actually tracks because you have a love for the people that is so thorough and unyielding that you love things that don't deserve love. And for people that need the context, we were doing it was you had to eliminate a candy bar, and one was a Snickers, right? One was it a Kit Kat or a Reese's?
It was
One of
Kit
them.
Kat, Snickers, and something else. And all of y'all silly rabbits that crossed off Three Musketeers, I don't like y'all.
And Butterfingers. Butterfinger was the other one.
That's the
So
worst.
I would get rid of Butterfinger first. Three Musketeer would be next. I don't dislike Three Musketeer. I just don't like it. Like I could if it never existed. It's just there. It's like it's just there. But like Snickers and Reese's are in Kit Kat, and even I would even say Nestle Crunch, although I could have that debate. Those are like the upper echelon. M&Ms. Those are the upper
But
echelon of candy.
M&Ms, they're GMO candy now. So I stopped eating M&Ms.
Oh,
But
good for you.
I think I'm gonna give you a pass today
I appreciate it.
because I do love you, but I couldn't let you go. I'm not gonna even touch mac and cheese. I'm not going there. I'm not going
I
there. I'm not going there.
I will say I ate some mac and cheese 2-3 weeks ago on the Joe Budden podcast. One of my castmates made some, um, and it was it wasn't bad,
Okay.
but it reinforced my position, which is that I never hate it, I never dislike it.
You've said that. You've said that.
It's just fine. It's like a tall glass of water.
Well, water is saving, it's healing. Water is saving, it's healing.
Yes,
And I'm just gonna stop there
but
because I
but
know
what if it
this
was
is
like on a hot day and it was like room temperature or warm water out the tap?
we know cool glass of water that is nourishment and saving our lives. And I wish you all of the cool flowing water, especially for your
I need
migraine.
that.
Yo,
I
for real,
need
man.
that.
This is weird because I want you to get off. I want you to get off and rest. But
No, I'm good. And honestly, the pain I'm feeling ain't gonna get better
well,
for getting off the phone. Like I'm fine. I'm sitting here, I got a little heat on my back. I'm
Let
good.
them cook, April. Let them cook.
I know that that was Drake, right, Mark?
Oh, I already know. Drake, the football coach, he like, look, if he could suit up, he could play.
Right. That's real. That's real. But here's the other thing. Here's the other thing for real. I know you're smart, right? You're one of our top scholars and we love you. You're
Thank you.
extra smart because your wife is a June Gemini Black woman June Gemini who graduated from Howard University, our alma mater. So I
Yes.
just needed the world to know happy birthday to Melissa. You
Oh
know my
yes.
tomorrow, but she's
Yes.
a June Gemini and she's a graduate of Howard. Legacy,
Yo, that is
yes.
real. And we got a new record. I think this is the longest I've ever had a conversation with you before you mentioned Howard. I mean, I think we went a solid 6 minutes.
I think we did. I think we did. I think we did. But
That's a record for you and my wife.
it's been lovely seeing her on night school.
Oh
So I
yeah,
just
she's
had
the
to do
best.
that. I had to do that. That's how come I know you're smart. Extra. So I just needed to do that.
That
So
is true. That Haki Matabuti taught me that, man. Like, the smartest thing you can do. He said the smartest thing he did was to marry a woman smarter than him, and
yes.
who had the same similar vision. And I was fortunate enough to do both. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to your family. By extension, it's all love. So I had to definitely do that.
For
And one
sure.
I'll meet the smartest person in your household. I'll meet her soon.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I'm gonna have something at the house, and if you're in town, y'all got you got to come through. Drake got to come through.
Yeah.
Everybody, the whole fam, it's gonna be love.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. So, fam, let's talk about living by one's principles, right? I was trying to figure out, we've been planning this for a minute for you to come on your show, on your channel. But the latest viral moment, and this is what I was talking about right before you came live, was this viral moment where from January 2024, you were pepper sprayed by a woman and you had to go to social media to tell everybody, like, I'm fine. This is from January 2024. And you talked about restorative justice and how you have been engaged with the community and the family member of this woman who has suffered mental health challenges and some serious abuse. And part of the comments were like, "Whoa, for real!" So he's just not talking this; he believes it. But this ain't the first time that you've exercised that as a matter of
Yeah.
principle. Can you just go in a little bit on that, please?
Yeah. I mean, it was an unfortunate incident, and in some ways, espérate, papa. Pa- Yo sé, papá. Puedes darte un beso, pero tienes que esperar un momento, ¿ok? ¿Hacer pipi? Ok. Espérate, ok. Vamos a la casa de abuelita, ¿ok? Estamos cerca de su casa, ¿ok? Um, I think that there's a couple things. I mean, one, that moment was scary as hell. I'm sitting there, obviously I get pepper sprayed, but I could have been shot. I could have been stabbed. Um, it was the first time, honestly, that we'd done an event, Uncle Bobby's, that my wife and my child weren't there. I was grateful for that. Um, I didn't have security. People said my security was, so I didn't have security. That was just a frat brother of mine who jumped out the second row
Mm,
because he saw something was awry when the sister was started saying things about the CIA, and he could, it sounded like someone who wasn't in his mind stable, so he jumped up.
right.
Um, but it was scary. And she tear gassed me. She tear gassed me directly in my eyes, so that's why I jumped up the way I did.
Uh,
And I had a ruptured Achilles still. Um, um, so I couldn't really like move the way I normally do. As Joe Budden reminded me, my jeans were so tight they didn't really allow for full extension. So
really.
between the two things, I didn't have a lot of opportunity to move. So anyway, at the end of the day, um, espérate, papa. At the end of the day, you know, people were calling the police. I asked people not to call the police. And this is one of the challenges at a moment where policing is our primary solutions. I mean, how else? What do you do in that moment when someone is causing harm and is a danger, and you don't have any other outcomes? or any other, sort of alternative solutions. Anyway, the person, the sister, was detained. The police did eventually come and handcuffed her, and brought her away. Um, I told them that I wouldn't press charges. I immediately received phone calls from her family and from community activists connected to her because she was connected to the Move organization. Um,
Okay. Okay.
and which is and because I did work with Mumi Abu Jamal, who covered the Move
Mm-hmm.
organization in the '70s and right up until the moment he was unjustly incarcerated. Um, she was trying to reach out to me to see if I could help her tell her story. She didn't tell me what her story was. She just said she had a pending case that she was suing Joe Biden, some Hollywood celebrities, and um, and I forget who else. But it was one of those emails you get that you're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this person doesn't seem well. Again, and I didn't get that email until I didn't. She sent it to the store. She didn't send it to me. She sent it to my store manager, Justin, who you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my store was vandalized. They caught her in the act of spray painting the store and breaking a window. That was about a week or two after she had sent that email. What we came to understand later from the police was that after I didn't respond to her email, she thought I was part of the conspiracy to conceal whatever the
Clear.
issue was.
Clear.
Um, and so when she showed up and said her name and started to ask the question, I started to put it together. Once she said the CIA, I started to put it together. Then I remembered her name, and I was like, oh wait, that name sounds familiar. Oh wait, that's. And I'm like looking. I'm actually looking to Justin. Justin. I'm not
Yes.
looking for security. I'm just looking for anybody who could help me. And I was looking for Justin in particular because he was the one who forwarded me the email after we got the police report back from the store ish incident. Um, and I was just looking like somebody, And then when she started walking toward me, I was like, I need
Yeah.
you to stop. And if we had been on the same level, what I would have done was walk. I would have tried to either close the distance or I would have just turned around. Um, but again, I was in that chair and I was kind of on one leg still. So anyway, once she pepper sprayed me and I jumped up, I kind of ran behind stage and then came back out. And I mean, y'all can see on the video what happened for the most part. Uh, Her family told me that she'd suffered. Well, other people in the community told me that they believe she suffered childhood abuse. And some other members of the organization have come out and said they suffered childhood abuse in the organization. She was really like one generation after Move, but I think her family was in Move.
Yes.
Um, and so 'cause she's very young. I mean, she's older. I have children her age. Or maybe
Mm.
not, but but within 2 or 3 years of her for sure.
Right.
Anyway, so um, I told the DA and I'm not showing up to court. I'm not. I don't. I said all I want is a restorative process, and so they finally they couldn't wrap their mind around that for a while, and they kept saying but, and eventually we got, and her family was hitting me up like, you know, can you please not press charges? Like, look, I'm not trying to press charges. All I want is um her to get some help and to
Yeah.
not and to not pepper spray me anymore because I'm not that hard to find. And if you're gonna I don't want people popping up on me. I don't know who else. You just don't know what's going on. So, and about a week later, I think Joy Ann Reed was coming to the store. So whenever that was, people will look it up to fact checks. I don't want to say the right. People will nitpick on that, but I don't know if it was a week or 2 weeks or three, whatever. But soon after, Joy Ann Reed was coming, and she had RSVP for that event too. So I was like, oh wait. We called around, and her family was like, no, she's in the house. She's in her room right now. We can confirm she's not coming to the event.
Mm-hmm.
But that also concerned me, So it became like a thing of how do we make sure this person is stable and safe, but also that I'm safe. Um, and people say, why don't you get a restraining order? Well, I said to the police, I'd love a restraining order. But what they said was, unless you're in a domestic relationship, you can't get one. And I asked the police 10 different ways. I went to two different people, because I didn't want to press charges. But I was like, if I can just get a civil order or something to say don't do it, just so that people won't come. But I couldn't. But that was fine, right? So ultimately, I said, they made an arrangement. I don't know how it was resolved ultimately, but I know ultimately I didn't participate, and I know ultimately they didn't prosecute her criminally. I don't know what the actual disposition of it was because the DA also sort of got frustrated with me when I wasn't participating. But the key was mental health resources. They said we'll do a diversion program for mental health. I just don't know whether it was AR. There's different types of diversion programs, but that was the point, that she got a diversion program with mental health support. And I was grateful for the opportunity to do that, because something, I wasn't looking to punish her. I was looking to
To
be
help.
made whole. Yeah, I was looking for healing and to be made whole. And I didn't after. I mean, yeah, I didn't like getting pepper sprayed. It was awful. Um, but I didn't suffer an extraordinary loss. So I didn't. You know what I mean? Putting her in a cage for a year or two wouldn't be the answer, in my
Well,
opinion.
did the police even know what you were talking about when you said, I don't want to press charges? I just, can we investigate
They
this justice process?
so there were two different levels. So the police are used to people saying they don't want to press charges. They just assume there's a reason. If there's a domestic conflict, or if you're involved in criminal activity, or you just like, I don't want to snitch. There's reasons why people say they don't want to talk to the police that the police aren't unfamiliar with. The problem comes when the DA gets it, because the police don't care. They're like, look, we showed up, we did our job,
Right.
um, whatever. We don't care. We go on to the next one, right? But the prosecution understood it, but didn't understand why, right? They're like, she did this thing to you. She could do it again to somebody else, which is a legitimate concern. Why don't you stop it? And my thing was a couple of things. One, she's responding to some trauma that happened to her. Let's find out what the trauma was and help her with that. But two, um, putting her in a cage isn't going to do that. And to be perfectly honest with you, if she did think I was part of a government conspiracy to harm her, and then she ends up in prison, I don't know if that stops her from thinking there's a government conspiracy.
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
I didn't want to trigger her. That's why I didn't want this video to go out. And people said video uncovered. It wasn't like uncovered or leaked. I'm the one. The video's mine. It was on
Mm,
the Uncle. It's been on my bookstore's website, YouTube channel since the day it happened. I never took it down. What happened
uh-huh.
was I was on the Joe Budden podcast, and I mentioned the story in the context of talking about security and things that happen when you don't have security. And I said, and I think sometimes people think you exaggerate in the story. I was like, no, I got it. And so somebody from the Joe Budden TV community, like one of the fans of the show, went to my channel and found it.
And
I've
found
always
it.
kept it up. Yeah, you
Right.
know, because there were a few crazy people that made it seem like I had something, like there was more to the story. Like maybe I, done something to her, or that maybe I knew her and I didn't know her. And it wasn't like the video got leaked or revealed. It was I posted the video
Right.
because I wanted there to be a living record of what happened, and it was part of our Martin Luther King Day symposium, and I didn't want that to be I didn't want that record to disappear. So I kept that out as well. Um, and I forget why I was saying that.
But let
I'm
me ask
sorry.
no, no, you were responding to did they even know, right? And so we
Oh,
concluded that the police, they don't care, but it
yeah, they
goes
didn't
to
care. The
yeah,
prosecution was. Oh, let me just finish that. So the prosecution was sort of like, fine, we're good with that. If she's willing to do it, we're okay with it. Because what I will give credit to in Philadelphia is that Larry Krasner, the DA, has been attempting to incarcerate fewer people when it's possible. And this seemed like an obvious case of, what will prison do here? Will it help? Will it make me better? Will it make me feel whole? No. Will it make her better? No. Will it fix the problems that got her into the situation? No. It's like the person who did the worst thing were the people who harmed her as a child.
right,
And so, like, if anything, that's where I would want the accountability, not, not this stuff.
right. I think we know this and you know this better than most that
No, I can say so.
that whole concept is hard to comprehend. That whole concept of restorative justice or not pressing charges or being engaged, in a way that speaks to, like you said, to make someone whole and to help with the healing.
Yeah.
What is the thing that you would want people to most understand about your decision, about this as an approach, in our community? What gap would you want to close?
It's a couple. I mean, one is we have to do this stuff in real life. you know, like, and I'm not like I don't claim to have the moral high ground. I'm not perfect. I'm not some ideal, and I'm none of that. But I'm trying to close the gap more and more between what I preach and what I practice in life. Because, you know, my entire life, there's been gaps between that. That's to be human, is to have gaps between what you preach and what you practice. But I think my goal is to try and close that gap constantly. And so for me, in the context of abolition, it's saying, you know, it's easy to talk about restorative justice, but what happens when something happened to you?
Right.
Um, um, you know, I've been advocating ending the death penalty forever, and people say, well, what would you do if something happened to your family? What if somebody shot your mama? They pick the most gruesome examples and most gruesome and personal examples. Say, I bet you'd want the death penalty then, and it's like, yeah, I might, but that's not my best self. That's not my most rational self. That's not my most humane self. I don't want us to make public policy based on how I feel at the worst moment. I'm like, shit, if you cut me off in traffic on the wrong day, I might believe in the death penalty. You know what I mean? Like, emotionally,
Yeah, no, I
you know,
understand. Yeah.
yeah, you know, but that's not what I want to make public policy from a place of being humane and being justice minded and being fair and loving. And so that means we got to live that out in real life. The other thing is we need to create the resources for people to be able to do that. Like if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything is going to look like a nail.
African proverb, classic one. Yes.
Right. You
Yeah.
know? So if all we have is policing and criminalization, then when someone's on drugs, lock them up. When someone, you know, takes something from you, or someone is having a drug overdose, or someone is being too loud in the first grade class, all we have is lock them up, lock them up, lock them up, lock them up, lock them up. We need more resources. We need social workers. We need therapists. We need drug rehab. We need conflict resolution. We need violence interruption. You know, and if we have that, rather than say a school resource officer inside of a school,
Hmm.
we'll be able to get different outcomes. And in this case, the only tool we had in that moment was the police. So I had to do some things to change that.
Right.
But not everybody has that luxury, you know. What do you do if you're the victim of domestic abuse? What do you do when you're walking down the alley at night and someone assaults you, right? I mean, there's a way that, you know, we need to create the context and the conditions for people to be abolitionists. But we have to begin from the premise that other outcomes are possible. But we also have to begin with a different ethos. Instead of asking um, who did it and how do we punish them, we have to start asking who was harmed and how do we make them whole. When the model moves toward restoration versus punishment, then we already begin from a different place, and so we begin to search for different solutions.
Yeah, I would agree, and it's hard to unpack that, and it's hard to take that crud off emotionally, right? Um, I remember, may he rest in peace, in Tume, speaking of Philadelphia.
Right.
We used to have these conversations on what was the show? Oh my gosh, on Sunday mornings on Kiss
Get
FM.
giving
Open
over.
line.
Kids, on kids. Okay.
Line, yes, yes,
Mm.
yes. We were a regular on there, and he used to be, and you know him too, may he rest in peace. He was hardcore. He was one of those that was like, yeah, you wouldn't say that if somebody killed your mother, about the death penalty. So I know
Yeah.
it's hard,
Yeah.
but we applaud you, we uplift you, and I like that you are clear that you're not this, who knows where you would land if something were to happen to you,
Yeah.
and that I love that you acknowledge that everybody has contradictions, but
Yeah.
what you strive for is what we applaud, and you put your money where your mouth is. So we wanted to
I'm
thank you.
trying.
Yeah, you are doing. So we thank you. Speaking of contradictions, the other question I had that I see people all up in the comments across social media, and the question is, why are you? This is not my question, but you've heard it before. Why are you wasting your time on the Joe Button podcast, talking to people like it is a waste of our Black intelligence that you would be amongst these lay people? Um, I think that's a horrible premise. I know you're used to it, but you actually on night school you actually addressed it. But
Yeah.
you have become so much the viral moments over the past couple of months have been like this. So
Yeah.
explain that, please, or address it,
You
brother.
know, I remember when I first started working um, at Fox News, before I even took the job at Fox News. This is before they became full out MAGA and crazy. This was 20 years ago. Um, I called Jesse Jackson asking what he thought about it because I was nervous about it. He said, "I don't know no doctors that hang around well people. You
Hmm.
know,
That
um, you know, the work we have to do. Where do we do it? Right? Do we sit in church and talk about how holy we are, or do we go on the street corners and serve the people and save the people? You know, who are
mm-hmm.
out in the world doing the worldly stuff that we're judging all the time. And I'm saying churches, but I mean churches, massages, synagogues, wherever, right? It's the same premise. Um, I think we have a duty to speak the truth and to educate wherever we can. Um, I think that the Joe Budden podcast is one of the most interesting and dynamic representations of Black life in America. It's one
Mm-hmm.
of the biggest platforms in media, and it creates space for me to be in conversation with communities that I normally am not in conversation with at that scale. When I'm on CNN, I'm talking to a lot fewer people, but also a lot fewer younger Black men and
Right.
women, but it's a more male demographic. When
Mm-hmm.
I am, on the Griot, I'm not talking to that demo. When I was on Black News Channel, when I was on BET more, when I'd be on
Mm-hmm.
106 in Park, but I also didn't have the space to do the stuff I was doing when I was a political correspondent for 106 in Park, when I was hosting BET News. I had a
Yeah.
TV talk show on VH1, but a late night talk show, but it was late night. And so, it was a lot more entertainment. I could go on, you know. Um, Point being, this is a space that is worth engaging. Black men deserve media. They deserve conversation. They deserve engagement. They also deserve loving critique and challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's also interesting um, because it's not like I'm in there educating everybody and they're just like these, you know, lemmings. Yeah, I don't know.
Some
It's
dogs that don't know shit.
right, right, exactly. It's like they know things. They're smart. They're educated. They're thoughtful, and they bring perspectives. And through our dialogues and our conversations, I have more insight into how a variety of different types of Black men and women, my sister Melissa in there, Mel Ford, think. And I'm learning. It's just they're teaching me, and we're teaching each other, and that's what it's about. And it's hella fun. But the other thing is, ¿estás cansado? Okay, un momentito, papá. The other thing is that I think is important to highlight is that I've never had one job. Like it ain't like this to stop me from doing everything else. And that's the funny thing. A lot of people who feign outrage about this, um, aren't watching Night School because I'm on every night. They're not watching Upfront on Al Jazeera. I'm on every week.
Right. Right.
You know,
They're
I've
not in your
written,
class, right? Right.
yeah,
At
at
graduate.
Q, yeah. It's like, yo, y'all got plenty of places to hear me talk about this, that, or this, or to speak in this way or that way. This is another job. I didn't leave Al Jazeera for this. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, why do y'all care? If I decide tomorrow to get a job, working at Jamaican Jerk Hut, you know, and I keep all the other jobs, like, why are y'all mad? Like, I
Right.
just really like making curry. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's okay because I'm still doing everything else.
Yeah.
And if you don't like my roti, then don't come, right? Stay over there. And I think that's the challenge for me is like I'm not sacrificing one for the other. But I will say, if I were to be doing that, would it be the worst thing in my capacity as a public voice to use my energy and time and talent in the service of Black men and boys? Like, why would that be a bad thing?
Yeah.
You know, most professors, most scholars don't do one of these things, right? They teach their courses and they write their scholarly work, and I do that too. I have 8 books.
Right. And
You
working
know,
on like 2 or 3 or 4.
yeah,
Sure. But it's the elitism, right? It's the elitism.
yes,
It's this old fuddy-duddy way of looking at the academy, and that is outdated. And
yeah.
it's questionable whether or not it ever served us. But I know it's a thing that people are like challenging you, like, why are you wasting? I remember going to dinner with one of my clients. This was like 2016, and we were celebrating a victory, and they was like, yeah, but we don't want to see our public intellectuals on, what was the show that you were doing? Was it Love and Hip Hop or?
Oh, the Basketball Wives reunion, maybe,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
maybe it
you
was
were
one of them.
hosting that. You were hosting that or whatever. But it was a visceral thing, like, yeah, but it's
I
it's
get
it's
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't think they're wrong. I mean, I think that someone could say that that doesn't serve an intellectual purpose and it's beneath me. They're probably right. I would own that criticism. I'd say, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't do that. I will say that that was probably me at my peak of popularity. I had books out, I had CNN, I had BET, I had all these other things going on. And honestly, that was a very big check that I used to open Uncle Bobby's bookstore. All
I
the
was
money,
just about to go there. Yes.
every dollar from VH1 went. If not for VH1, I wouldn't. There would be no Uncle Bobby's, and that's just the
Right.
honest to God truth. Um.
That's that's
So
founded in 2017. So what is that? What is that? 7 years, whatever.
yeah, 8 years. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
entering year 8 now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I would agree with Joanne Simpson on the screen. It says they love you on the Joe Button podcast. Your voice is needed over there. And I would extend that to say your voice is needed in all of the places where your voice is, for sure. So you
Well,
put your
thank
money
you.
where your mouth is on a regular basis, whether people know it or not.
I'm that's all I'm trying to do is like is kind of make the word flesh a little bit.
There
And
you
some people are never going to be entirely happy with any of my choices, or anyone's choices, but that's why I have to try to path. I have to listen to wise counsel. I have to
go. Hmm.
do my best to accept correction, but at the same time, I also have to understand that some people aren't going. That will only make sense later. I mean, people blasted me for joining the Joe Budden podcast. Um, and after I joined the Joe Budden podcast, maybe within 2 months, a large portion of those people started saying, I thought this was bad for you and them. It turned out to be my favorite thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
now, and if I may, because I want to talk about the news, No King's Day, and the Minnesota lawmakers that were
Yeah.
killed today. You saw that news, but I want to
I,
say,
I didn't see that news. I've been, because of this medical, I have been
oh
totally checked out of
yeah,
everything today. But I do know about the march. Fortunately, some fam of mine are going, and some colleagues are going. I'll be here. I'm not physically able to go, but
right.
I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, it's really really important. And I want to remind people on social media, just make sure you know your rights. The ACLU put out a thing where people could just be clear about what their rights are for whatever it's worth. It's important, but salute to everybody that's making that decision or has made that decision for sure. But I was going to ask you something and it went out of my mind. So guys, can we bring up the piece? The screenshot that you all did earlier, pardon me, Mark, there were two. There we go. Um, there was a politically motivated assassination that happened. This was today or last night, family. I think that was today, not overnight. But this is happening in real time. Mark, we put it on the screen for you. So that's what we were talking
My
about.
God,
Um,
I'm looking. Oh man,
yeah,
I mean, we're in a moment that is so dangerous, and the stakes are high, and they're not just symbolic. People are dying. People are
Yeah.
dying in these political assassinations, but people are also dying from police repression and ICE repression.
Hmm.
It's just, and they're also dying from the deprivation of resources that are coming up. They're dying from drone strikes. They're dying from U.S. funded and supported military interventions in places like Iran, like Northeast Tehran, like we saw a few days ago. I mean, this is a dangerous moment. And so this march around No Kings is absolutely connected to this. I mean, it's not just that Donald Trump is imposing a kind of authoritarian regime and a neo-fascist or it's named proto now. It's
Right.
fascist regime. But it's that it's that how can I put it? There's a culture that's being normalized. People feel emboldened and empowered to be people never stop being racist, but they feel emboldened and empowered to talk and to behave
And kill.
publicly and
And
kill.
hmm
There was a time where some of the stuff was beneath the surface and now it's bubbling out. And because Trump has made it normal to act this way.
yeah. Yeah. That is we were talking about before you came on, and let me pause for a quick moment, because Mark, I learned this from you because it's so important. We could talk about the fuckery, but there's a way that people can support what it is that they believe in, which is what you've built. So if you're watching on Twitter, I said all that to say, if you're watching on Twitter, do us a favor in support of Black independent media and watch this live and moving forward on YouTube, on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. So, Mark, I wanted to say that, but then also we were referencing, but right before you came on, about this moral moment. Our brother, Mayor Raz Baraka, who you but hey, I love hearing your son's voice. I'm so straight up serious right now.
Oh man, I'm glad one of us it feels that way.
Nah, he's getting all the love.
No, I adore him. He's just been up since 6:30, and he's so tired and don't want to fighting to sleep. Do not. I'm like, bro, wait till you get a little older. You'd be paying for this sleep. You would kill for this sleep. So
yes,
yeah, but anyway, yeah. But Raz Baraka.
Yeah, and I'm happy to say that even before he was on Joe Budden podcast or the others or whatever, I had him, as you know, on Ascending back in February.
Absolutely.
Where we announced the fundraiser that we just did in May, and it was a valiant, powerful outpour of labor and organization, of which we are so proud. But on the virtual fundraiser I did for him, he talked about this moral moment and how we cannot betray the work, and that history will judge us, right? History will judge us by the decisions we make today. And not that everybody has to be on the front line. Would you agree? Like everybody doesn't have to be March. There are
That's right.
ways that people can support this progressive movement. Can you weigh in on that part?
Yeah, I mean, this is a moment. Everybody always says that they wish they were around in the 60s, or I wish I was around during the anti-apartheid struggles. I wish I could sit in on Howard campus, you know what I'm saying, in the 80s and take over the building. All the things that people say they wish they could do. There's a moment to do that now. Our rights are being taken now. People are dying now. You don't have to protest the Vietnam War. Protest the genocide in Gaza right now.
Facts.
So this says a lot about what we're made of. And when you think about the small number of people who participate in the civil rights struggle, it's not surprising, right? We always think of every grandmama and granddaddy as having been marching with Dr. King. Every white person loved him, every black person marched with him. But it was barely in the double digits, the percentage of people that actually marched for civil rights.
Yes.
So when you think about that and then you look around now, it's not surprising. I mean, if you couldn't sit at a lunch counter or drink out of a water fountain, if people were still getting lynched and most people weren't protesting, how many people should I expect to come to a march right now for these?
Right.
You know, there's a way that our circumstances are calling for resistance, and it's a way that call is not always going to be heeded, and there's a way that the lack of heeding it becomes a referendum on who we are as a collective.
Yeah. Yes.
And we got to be honest about that. You know, if you ain't marching now, why do you think you're gonna march then?
Right. But even beyond the marching, we've talked about this before, even beyond the marching, maybe your
Right.
contribution ain't boots on the ground.
Right,
Maybe,
which was your point. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
no. But we're aligned. We're aligned. The other part is that maybe, I think about what is the restaurant in Georgia, and I'm sure it's just like one of many examples where the Black-owned cafes, for example, all
Yeah,
they
like Pascal's.
right, that this feed the freedom fighters when they came into town, like you know what I mean,
Yep.
like all
Yeah.
the different kinds of quiet ways. Maybe you were the one that just washed the clothes, of the activists and the organizers, or make sure that the sheets were clean. When you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's so many different
Yeah.
ways that people need to value what their contribution is. But the thing you don't want to do is not do anything.
And the biggest problem in the world today is that there are too many people who don't do anything. And it's that simple. We have an opportunity right now to do something. There are people who are mad Ras Baraka ain't governor but didn't vote.
Right.
There are people who hate the racist juries, and they hate the outcomes of their brothers and sisters who are railroaded in the criminal legal system. And when you ask them, are you registered to vote? And they say no, that's bullshit. And you say, well, then how are you going to be in the jury pool?
Right.
How many of us brag about getting out of jury duty?
That part.
Right.
That part.
And then the same people who brag about it will then be like, yo, that's fucked up what they did. Oh my God, I can't believe they found him guilty or not guilty, whoever, depending on who it is, right? And I'm not endorsing the criminal legal system. I'm just saying, like, let's follow the through line. What's the logic here? If you believe X, then how do you make it happen? How do you make that belief obtain? And so I think that's my frustration sometimes. And that's the day-to-day stuff you're talking about. How can we mentor somebody? How can we support a policy? How can we make a donation to a campaign or a movement or an organization? How can we, write books that are about this versus that? I mean, that was the sort of, not the hilarity, but to me, the interesting part about the Tyler Perry speech at the BET Awards. He gave this whole speech.
Yeah, I missed that. I missed it, but I gotta catch up.
And again, it was an interesting one. And he wasn't wrong as he talked about the monuments being torn down. As he talked about kind of the commitment of the current moment to kind of erasing Black people and Black histories and Black stories and Black past. And I thought he was right. It just made me wonder how you reconcile that with, for example, Medea's family reunion, right? No, that's and I think we need space for Black joy, Black pain, Black story. I'm not jumping on Tyler Perry. I don't want to make it seem that way, although it probably sounded that way. I guess what I'm saying is, knowing what the world is doing, how can we use our gifts to make that not happen? So in addition to making the movies that Tyler makes or the TV shows that Tyler makes, I'd love to see some other projects that speak to this stuff we're talking about, in addition to it.
Right. Not instead of, but that harkens back to the whole thing where Gail King was like, but did what the stance around the Drake help me, the when they went into space or space, and Gail was like, have you been in space? When she got an attitude, when people was like, I'm not so sure in this moment in time, especially that might have been a wise, humane use of your time and resources, and then you bragging about it. I remember that, and I with those people.
And I don't know enough about the Gayle King story per se, but I do know that the question is always legitimate to say, is this the right time for this action? Not just is this action good or bad, but is it the right
Fair,
time? And
fair.
if it is not, what should we be doing instead? Now, again, we got to find time for Black joy, for Black play, for Black, so maybe everything isn't part of our freedom struggle, but it also shouldn't be an enemy to it. And those are kind of the considerations I make. I'm not talking about Gail, I'm just saying in general.
Right, in general. And we could argue solidly that our joy and our peace of mind and our healing is a part of the freedom struggle as well.
Oh, Black joy is bound up in Black liberation, and Black liberation is bound up in Black joy. I mean, you're not going to get free absent joy, healing, play, imagination.
Yep.
Yeah. And rest.
And rest, sir, and rest.
Like I said, I'm trying to close the gap between practice and preach.
I understand.
I'm trying.
I understand. My brother,
God's still working on it, though.
Yes, and we love you. We're going to support you on that. So I want to say out loud while you're here and listening, and we have people who are in the process of switching from Twitter to watch you on your YouTube channel, Marc Lamont Hill Official. I want to say out loud on our 21st episode, thank you for this opportunity. When you called me, this was like literally 6 months ago, and was like, we was thinking, you wanna do a show on my channel, and I was just waiting for you to shut up. Like, you was explaining everything and all of that kind of stuff. And selling it, right? And I'm like, where did this come from? In my mind, as you was just talking, and I'm like, yes. And so it's been a wonderful experience. And I was like, Mark, I don't know, that's a lot. Maybe I'll do twice a month, maybe once a month. Let me just see. And you was like, yeah, right. You knew all along I was going to come up to your original recommendation, which was weekly. I'm happy with this. And everybody who's been on as a guest, thanks you as well, because we would not have had the opportunity to share our gifts and what we've learned and what we've trained in for the love of our culture. But you took a chance on someone who's not normally in front of the camera and was like, let's do this.
I knew you could do it. I believed in you, and I believe in us as a people, and I believed in you and me and your team and me, in terms of making all this happen. And so I couldn't be happier with the outcome. I couldn't be happier with the growth. You know what I mean? I'm watching the numbers. I'm looking at who's there, and I don't care about the money. I don't care about the eyeballs per se. I care about the fact that good work is happening. That, again, is helping us get free. And that's the most important thing.
Yes. How do it free us is the question. I love you. I love your family. We will see you soon. If you have any parting words, go at it. And I have this thing called Last Word. I got segments in the whole thing, right? I got bookmark. I got Black Media shout out because I'm learning from you. And I just thank you so much. I thank you so much. So let me stop.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'll see you soon. Malcolm, say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, baby Malcolm. All right, my fam. Talk to you later. Get some rest.
All right.